Alright, this is Act 3, Scene 2 of Julius Caesar. Now, Antony is still giving his speech to the crowd. He has just given this very dramatic oration, and then he's told the crowd, I don't want you to be mad at the conspirators. Let's just be mad at Caesar and let the dead bury the dead. But the crowd is not having any of that. Now, Antony is going to kick it up a notch because remember, he is the brains of the operation, and he is going to really seal the deal with this crowd and make sure that they love him to death. So let's watch what he does.
Here's the parchment with the seal of Caesar. I found it in his closet. 'Tis his will. Let but the commons hear this testament, which, pardon me, I do not mean to read, and they would go and kiss at Caesar's wounds, and dip their napkins in his sacred blood, yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying, mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue. Read the will. Have patience, simple friends, I must not read it. It is not meet you know how Caesar loved you. You are not wood. You are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you. It will make you mad. 'Tis good you know not that you are his heirs. For if you should...
Oh, Antony is so bad. He says, here I have Caesar's will. Now, is the will the real thing or not? We don't really know. It's peculiar that he will not leave anything to Calpurnia, his wife, in this will. But he holds it up, and he is just so, he's bad. He wants the crowd to ask him to read it. So he's manipulating them. He said they can go and kiss Caesar's wounds and dip their napkins in his blood, and they will just not have to hear the will. And the commoners say, we want to hear the will, we want to hear the will. And he says, I must not read it. You don't need to know how much Caesar loved you. The crowd would gasp, right? He says, you are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, bearing the will of Caesar, it's good for you to not know that you're his heirs. At this point, this is a huge deal. He says, you don't need to know that you are the heirs of Caesar, that you are going to inherit his things. And of course, the crowd's ears will be perked up at this, because to inherit something from someone so rich would make you rich. Of course they want to know what's in that will. Of course they want Antony to read it. So Antony is just really baiting them right now, and they are going to fall right into his trap.
Oh, what would come of it?
We'll hear it, Antony. You shall read us the will.
Will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have o'ershot myself to tell you of it. I fear I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I do fear it.
They were traitors, honorable men.
The will! You will compel me then to read the will. And make a ring around the corpse of Caesar. And let me show you him that made the will. Shall I...
Before he's going to read that will, he's going to make them get in a circle around Julius Caesar's body. Now, this is good information that you might want to use in your paper, because one of the things that is so on Caesar's dead body, they were to celebrate. They're looking at the body. In Texas, there is a law where women have to see the sonogram of their baby before they abort it. Why? Because there's something about seeing that draws an emotion in us that we may not have been aware of. Antony is doing this. He puts them around Caesar's dead body, and he wants them to look at it. And he's going to talk for a few minutes before he reads that will. And they'll stick around because they want to hear the will.
I descend, and will you give me leave?
Down, descend. You shall have leave. A ring, stand round, stand from the head, stand from the body.
Nay, put not so upon me. Stand far off.
Stand back, will ever.
If you have tears, prepare to shed them now. You all do know this mantle. I remember the first time ever Caesar put it on. It was on a summer's evening in his tent. That day he overcame the nervii.
He's talking about the cloak. He says you all know the cloak, and of course he's going to be able to look at it and see all of the knife wounds in it, which he'll compare to red lips, which is a very vivid description and piece of imagery.
Look, in this place ran Cassius' dagger through. See what a rent the envious Casca made. Through this the well-beloved Brutus stabbed. And as he plucked his cursed steel away, mark how the blood of Caesar followed it, as rushing out of doors to be resolved if Brutus so unkindly knocked or no. Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O ye gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all.
Brutus's cut was the most unkindest cut of all, not because it physically hurt the worst, but because emotionally it must have just destroyed Caesar to see Brutus do this to him.
For when the noble Caesar saw him stab, ingratitude, more strong than traitor's arms, quite vanquished him. Then burst his mighty heart, and in his mantle, muffling up his face, even at the base of Pompey's statue, which all the while ran blood, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen! Then I and you and all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason flourished over us. Oh, now you weep. Now I perceive you feel the dint of pity. These are gracious drops. Kind souls. What? Weep you when you but behold our Caesar's vesture wounded? Look you here. Here is himself, marred, as you see, with traitors. Oh, piteous spectacle.
At this point, he already has the allegiance of the crowd. Now is when he's going to blame the conspirators, so he names them one by one. He points at every stab wound on Caesar, and he gives a name of a conspirator. And then when he lifts up that cloak, and we see Caesar's stabbed body, the crowd gasps, and he calls the conspirators traitors now, because they are officially on his side. They officially have pledged their allegiance to Antony. So this is a very dramatic moment in the play.
Almost bloody sight we will be prevent about sheepherds, fire, kill, slay,
Nay, countrymen!
Here is no one out to do die with him!
Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honorable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not that made them do it. They are wise and honorable, and will no doubt with reasons answer you.
You see again that reverse psychology. Oh, don't get mad at the conspirators. They probably had a good reason. Remember, they're honorable. Don't you remember how you said they're so honorable? And the crowd says, no, they're not honorable. They're terrible. Why did they do this to Caesar?
I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator, as Brutus is, but as you know me...
This is very ironic that Antony says he's no orator, which means speaker, as Brutus is, because of course he is a much better speaker than Brutus is.
All a plain, blunt man that loved my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. For I have neither writ, nor words, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds, poor, dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus...
Now, when he says dumb mouths, dumb in this sense means unable to speak. So the bloody wounds look like mouths that cannot speak. But if they could speak for themselves, they would say this, what Antony is about to say.
Antony, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise in mutiny. The conspirator! Hear me, countrymen, yet hear me speak. Why, friends, you go to do you know not what. Wherein hath Caesar thus deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then. You have forgot the will. Here is the will, and under Caesar's seal.